welcome back to Through the Years, a Dragon Ball podcast hosted by me, Landon. Hey guys, thanks for bearing with me last week. Once again, I apologize for just the fact that we had a little bit of a different schedule, a little bit of inconsistency. That's my bad. I take full ownership of it, but we are going forward, and today is going to be not just packed, not just double packed, but triple packed because we're not covering just two episodes. We are covering 3 episodes today. So we are still in season 1. We're chugging along. We're getting going. This is episode 3, if you're keeping track of Through the Years, a Dragon Ball podcast. Man, I just love how quickly Dragon Ball begins to build. Because Dragon Ball, the pacing is really, really healthy. And here's what I mean by that. It's not like super heavy on filler. It's not drug out. It's not spread out, but it's just like, wow, like Dragon Ball has phenomenal pacing as far as introducing new characters, developing those characters, new storylines, branching into other storylines, and just things like that. And obviously, I could go on and on and on and on about that, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, we're here to talk about Dragon Ball Season 1, Episodes 5, 6, and 7. That's right, 3 episodes today. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Season 1, Episode 5 is Yamcha, the Desert Bandit. All right, we have 2 exciting character debuts here in Episode 5. Obviously, if you heard the title just a second ago, we have the debut of Yamcha. Yamcha is going to be a mainstay in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and even Dragon Ball Super. Man, it breaks my heart the reputation Yamcha gets because of what Team 4 Star did. Now, hear me out, okay? Just hear me out. I don't hate what Team 4 Star did as far as like creativity and stuff goes with their Dragon Ball Z bridge because it's like, let's be real, it's funny, it's hilarious. It's a great cheesy, goofy way to power through the entire story of Dragon Ball Z pretty quickly. Obviously, like it strays from the source material quite a bit, but that's to be expected because a lot of it is parody. But unfortunately, the reputation they created for Yamcha, like I hope it's not too nerdy to say it's heartbreaking, but it is heartbreaking because of just the character development we get with Yamcha here in Dragon Ball, and even leading up to Dragon Ball Z, some of the things he does, like like the fact Yamcha and Tien kind of steal the Android and Cell saga for a little bit is just like I love it because they're revamped. They've been kind of written off. People forget about them. They fall into obscurity because the focus is on the likes of Goku and Vegeta now. But hey, like they are keeping up as far as things go. So it's sad to see, but nevertheless, we see the debut of Yamcha here in episode 5. We also see the debut of his faithful friend Puar. I know that's kind of weird to say Puar, Puar, who is a shape shifting cat, but we'll get into that a little more later. So, just to set the scene, we have those 2 debuts, and we're going to see a lot more of them. So, episode 5, Yamcha the Desert Bandit, opens with Oolong joining Goku and Bulma in a boat. That's right, they're in a Capsule Corp boat. They are just making their merry way down the stream until Goku asks why Oolong is joining them. And so right here, like Oolong takes offense to that immediately, and Bulma explains that it's Oolong's powers that might come in handy on their journey, so therefore Oolong is worth bringing along. Now just remember, if you're jumping in with us right here, or if you've been following along, when Oolong debuted in episode 4, last episode, Oolong's not a good guy. Like Oolong has been, well, he's not a guy at all. He's a pig. Oolong has been terrorizing this town. He's using his shape shifting abilities to get revenge for girls that just would never give him the time of day or pay attention to his existence. And so he's taking it out on innocent people, innocent town, terrorizes them, is forced to face the consequences of his actions. And now he's with Goku and Bulma. Bulma thinks they can use his bad powers for good. And then Goku and Oolong both want to know where they're going, and Bulma reveals that they're going to Fire Mountain. Oolong freaks out. He says he's not going. No way. I'm not going near it at all. No way. He clues the group in that the terrible Ox King, the Ox King, he lives there on top of Fire Mountain. And we heard Fire Mountain mentioned earlier. And so Oolong's freaking out about this, okay? Oolong explains that the Ox King has been terrorizing the countryside outside of Fire Mountain and has absolutely no match when it comes to power, to strength, to ability. You name it. There is no one that matches the Ox King. And so for us as viewers at this point, it's like, okay, who's the Ox King? What's Fire Mountain? Like, what is it, a literal mountain on fire? What's the deal with that? At this point, as Oolong has just explained and given reason to, hey, this is why I'm not tagging along with you guys, Oolong transforms into a fish and takes off, hops in the water, starts swimming away. Goku jumps in and chases after Oolong right away. And I hate to say it, but Oolong outsmarts he outsmarts Goku. Goku cannot find him. Goku returns to the boat and is like, Bulma, hey, I can't find him. Bulma gets creative with with creating a fishing lure. Um, it's weird. She uses her underwear, but it works. Oolong is, he's a freak. He is what we would call a pervert. And Oolong launches at the opportunity for this, falls right in, no pun intended, but pun intended, hook, line, and sinker, and is reunited with Bulma and Goku. Goku gets hungry and he calls Oolong a pig for eating all of their food. So as they're traveling again, Goku, we know his appetite from the fact that he ate a wolf, he ate a weird looking bug, he was going to try and eat a giant bird, which ended up being an airplane, all these kind of things. So we know the kid has a huge appetite and he's hungry, and Goku knows that they have food, but is furious because it's revealed that Oolong did, in fact, eat all of it, cleverly calls him a pig. Bulma reveals a vitamin. It's this cool little orangish yellow ball that has been designed to suppress hunger, and it actually gives energy. So she gives it to Oolong, and to satisfy Oolong to keep him tied over. And Goku wants one, but unfortunately, there's only one left, and Oolong takes it. Now, the boat runs out of gas, unfortunately. This is a problem. They're on their way to Fire Mountain, they're in the water, and now they don't have gas for the boat anymore. So, Bulma, why did she ask Oolong to come along? Because his powers might come in handy. And right here, Bulma asks Oolong to transform into a can of gasoline. Hey, it doesn't work like that. And so she says, what about a paddle? Oolong transforms into a paddle, hands the paddle slash Oolong to Goku, and Goku paddles them to shore as Oolong complains about Goku dumping Oolong's head into the water and Oolong getting water in his mouth. So Bulma realizes that she does not have any more capsules. She had the boat capsule, but she does not have any more. And so this causes her to freak out. She starts stressing about the fact that, hey, she's not used to this kind of life. It's not her job to put up with it. All these kind of things. She's a prima donna. She is used to a little bit nicer living than roughing it. And so unfortunately, Goku just doesn't get it. He's like, well, why can't you guys just walk? And Oolong sneaks off while Goku is talking to Bulma about this. And, Goku realizes that Oolong isn't there anymore. And so Goku goes looking for Oolong with Flying Nimbus. Now, Oolong has to go to the bathroom bad all of a sudden, and he sprints to a bush. And Bulma explains that the reason she gave Oolong that multivitamin is because that multivitamin is actually a laxative. If you don't know what a laxative is, you should Google it. So, how did this come about? Whenever Oolong is hiding, Goku can't find him and is like, hey, Bulma, like he's nowhere to be seen. She starts calling out Piggy, Piggy. All of a sudden, Oolong has to go to the bathroom really, really bad. Oolong jumps out from where he was hiding and has to go to the bathroom. Like I said, Bulma reveals that it was not a vitamin that suppresses hunger and gives strength and energy, but it's really just a laxative. And the magic thing about this laxative, anytime she yells, Piggy, Piggy, I'll put it like this: when she says that, it'll make him have to make, if you catch my drift. Homeboy will have to go to the bathroom really, really bad and doesn't get a say in it. So Goku whips out the power pole because as he's watching this unfold, he accuses Bulma of being a witch and using magic. So, right here, this is important to note because we see Goku's character that he is going to stick up for his friends. He doesn't want to hurt people, but he'll do what he has to do to protect his friends. And right now, he thinks his friend Oolong is being attacked by Bulma, who's a witch. Bulma explains that if she was a witch, then why would she need the Dragon Balls? Goku kind of stares for a little bit and realizes, oh, that does make sense. And that's when Bulma explains that it's not magic, it's not, um, dark arts or anything like that, but it's just a little bit of science in the form of a pill that makes Oolong have to go to the bathroom. And so Goku all of a sudden connects the dots and starts saying piggy, 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 piggy. And poor Oolong has to suffer mud butt. I think I can say that mud butt syndrome. Papa John's chocolate lava cake, you name it. It is what Oolong is dealing with right now. Now we're back to the matter at hand, and that's the fact that they don't have gas to keep going. They don't have any more capsules. All these inconveniences are leading up to now that they're forced to walk until they come up with a great idea. Why don't we just have Oolong use his powers and we had him transform into a paddle? Well, why don't we have him transform into a motorcycle? That way we can continue going. So he does. Looks kind of like a moped, like a Vespa kind of thing, and Bulma hops on and just absolutely crushes Oolong. He explains that just because he can shapeshift doesn't mean it gets him any stronger. Like, just because he's changing his appearance, he's not magically gaining super endurance or super strength or anything like that. Like, it's strictly just an illusion. Now, obviously, with shapeshifting, like it's a super detailed illusion as far as, I mean, we could get super scientific and talk about like the molecular changes that take place, but regardless, unless Oolong can carry Bulma when he's in his regular form, then there's no way that Oolong is going to be able to carry her just because he transforms into a different shape. Oolong being the creepy guy he is, he transforms into a pair of underwear. He's like, "Hey, like Bulma, at least this way you can carry me." Bulma gets super mad and slaps Oolong to the ground and he transforms back to normal. So the gang continues their journey on foot, sadly, and they are shown walking through a barren wasteland. Okay, it's like a desert. There's no water around, there's no trees, nothing, just a big open area of dust, dirt, and more dust and dirt. So as they're walking, Goku asks them to keep up because he was nice enough to walk on foot. Goku has flying Nimbus, and he likes his friends, so he's going to be nice enough to walk on foot with them. So the least they could do is keep up with him. Bulma just happens to break down because of this, and so Goku suggests that they let Bulma rest because she's not cut out for the desert life, she's not cut out for wilderness and all these kind of things. She's used to modern amenities and the benefit of those capsules, and so she says she feels like they're being watched, even though, as we can see, they're clearly in this barren wasteland. There's nothing around. Well, Bulma's actually right because the camera cuts over and a blue cat named Poir is seen spying on them. Poir enters into a hideout and informs a man named Yamcha that there's more people to hijack. Oolong and Goku look up and they see someone coming in the distance. They see this dust cloud moving, some silhouettes. They're trying to figure out what's going on, but it clearly looks like somebody is heading their way. It's Yamcha and Poir that we just saw. They're on some kind of like speeder bike kind of thing. Yamcha introduces himself as the master of the land that they're passing through. Oolong recognizes and reveals that he knows Poir from shapeshifting school. And immediately Poir reveals that Oolong was a bully and stole Poir's lunch money at shapeshifting school. Yamcha clearly doesn't like hearing that, so Yamcha tells him to hand over the money in capsules and he'll let them go. Otherwise, it's not going to go good for them. Well, Oolong in his big mouth starts talking Yamcha into fighting Goku. Goku says he doesn't want to fight Yamcha, but he will if he has to protect his friends. Now, Yamcha throws his sword sheath in the air. He's got this huge sword, and Goku looks up. His eyes are following the sheath, and as Yamcha throws this in the air to distract Goku, he then charges. Now, Goku is able to dodge all of Yamcha's attacks with the sword. Goku uses the power pole to strike Yamcha. Yamcha blocks the power pole with his sword, okay? But only now Goku uses the power pole's extension power to take Yamcha down, hits him square in the chest. Yamcha drops down and he recognizes the pole that he was just hit with. And he says that only one man had that pole. And he proceeds to ask Goku, how did you get that power pole? And Goku explains that his grandpa, named Gohan, gave it to him before he died. Yamcha stands up and he reveals that he has powers too. He seems to recognize the name Gohan because he recognizes the power pole. As Yamcha is standing up, he begins to charge his energy, and we see for the first time ever Yamcha use the Wolf Fang Fist on Goku. Several strikes hit Goku rapidly before he is being launched into the air from a big strike and then launched into several stone pillars, which just crumble on top of him. Like Goku's dead at this point because this innocent child, I shouldn't say he's innocent because he willingly agreed to this fight, but this child that we've seen, even though he's got supernatural strength, supernatural powers, has just been hit with the devastating combo of hits launched into stone pillars, okay? Not paper pillars, not sand pillars, but pillars carved out of stone. And there's no telling how heavy those things are, several hundred pounds. They collapse on top of Goku, and he is now buried under several hundred pounds of stone. Now, at this point, Yamcha's in control of the situation, and so he walks over to Oolong and he says, for Oolong to hand over his money right now. Goku emerges from the rubble, however, and he says that he's starving. Like, this is Goku to a T. Homeboy has been hit with a move. He is trying to recover from that. He is buried under hundreds of pounds of stone. And the only thing that's on his mind is the fact that he is super duper hungry. And he goes as far as to say that he feels like he's going to die if he doesn't eat. Goku stands up to Yamcha again, but this time Goku absolutely whoops Yamcha, like wipes the floor with him. He blocks his punch, pokes him in the eye, and slaps him square in the face. And Yamcha gets furious and charges Goku. And Goku takes the time to say he's going to die if he doesn't eat. But Bulma wakes up from all this noise, and Yamcha notices Bulma and stops dead in his tracks. He reminds Poir that he has trouble around beautiful girls, and he and Poir just take off just right away, fleeing this scene right as Goku has slapped him as this fight is happening. And Yamcha is shown back at this hideout, right? Right after they retreat. And he swears he'll overcome his trouble with women and that those guys have not seen the last of Yamcha, the desert bandit. Now, we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with season 1, episode 6. Keep an eye on the Dragon Balls.
Wow, check it out! There's a monster of a show coming at you this fall, starring me, Goku! So join me and my new friends as we try to escape hungry dinosaurs, match wits with the evil emperor, and do battle with the desert bandits! So tune in this fall for a truly hair-splitting adventure! It'll blow you away! Dragon Ball!
And we are back. Thanks for being patient. I hope you enjoyed that little Easter egg of a treat. You're going to get 2 of them because we've got more than 2 episodes, therefore we got more than 2 breaks in this recording. So let's jump right back into it. Season 1, episode 6, keep an eye on the Dragon Balls. So we do not have any character debuts in this episode, okay? So just keep that in mind. No debuts in this episode. We're not going to have debuts every episode. We've already had a couple that there were not any debuts in, so that's okay. But we do want to take the time to acknowledge those debuts when they happen. But nevertheless, we are here. So episode 6 starts off with the gang continuing to walk through the desert. Remember, Yamcha just took off when we last saw him. So the gang regroups and they take off on their way to try and find Fire Mountain. Yamcha is shown plotting back in his hideout. He doesn't want them to slip through his fingers because this is too good of a deal to rob them to get whatever money, whatever capsules they might have. And, the plus side that he finds Bulma attractive, so maybe he can overcome that fear as well and nab himself a wife. Goku, Bulma, and Oolong are shown in a camper. Inside of it, Bulma asks why on earth did Oolong keep this camper capsule from them? Like, they had this, Oolong had this the whole time. They could have been using it. They could have been driving inside of it because it's going to hold a lot more gas than Oolong is a motorcycle. What's the deal? And Oolong says the reason that he kept it a secret is, one, Bulma didn't ask if he had it. And 2, he didn't want Yamcha and Puar to find out about it and risk it being stolen. So the gang is eating incredible food. Goku is happy he's not going to die because he is getting to eat. Now, Bulma asks if there is a bathtub that she can bathe in. And so Oolong leads her to the bathroom, shows her the bathtub. He has what she wants. And Bulma scoffs at how small the bathtub is. She explains that she's used to a lot nicer places. At this point, Oolong just straight up says, like, hey, if you don't like this, you can go down the road and rent a hotel. What's funny about this is they're in the middle of the desert. Like, Bulma, you got to learn to be grateful for things like this. Like, this is much better than you walking on your feet through the desert with no shelter. And now you have a bathroom, you have a camper, you have a bed, you have a place to stay. So Bulma looks around to make sure that there are no peepholes or anything like that creepy Oolong would take advantage of. So it cuts to nighttime, okay? Time has passed, and these 2 robots, we're going to call them hoppers because they're hopping around. These 2 robots are hopping, and they're shown traveling towards the camper. A radio call from inside reveals that it's Mai and Shu. Mai briefs Pilaf that they found the camper, and the duo tries to plant bombs when they notice someone in the distance. Now, we haven't seen Mai, Shu, or Pilaf since they left the turtle hermit Roshi's island, and he accidentally punctured a hole in their airplane and they sunk in the ocean. So it's good to see them again. They're trying to plant bombs, but because they see someone in the distance, or they believe that they do, they kind of pause for a second. That someone, that silhouette, that shadow they think they hear and they think that they see, it's Yamcha. And he tells Puar that they could get a good price for that camper. And there's no telling what's inside, so that they need to sneak in and they can rob Goku, Bulma, and Oolong blind. Oolong and Goku are talking. Oolong is afraid of being robbed, but Goku says he isn't afraid. And Oolong says, well, the reason you're not afraid is because you don't have anything that's worth stealing. Goku then explains that he is the Dragon Ball, the 4-star Dragon Ball to be specific, and that it is worth something. It's what his grandpa gave him. He then begins to explain why the Dragon Balls are important and why they're special. Yamcha sneaks up to the camper, goes to peek in the window because he wants to scoop out the situation, figure out what's going on. But the problem is, it's the bathroom window. Yamcha is met with a very naked Bulma, and Yamcha, he just shuts down, like, homeboy kind of has a stroke because we know he has a crippling fear and this crippling like anxiety, and like he just mentally just shuts down when he sees pretty girls. And the fact that he has seen Bulma in a very vulnerable, situation, like add that on top of it, that's like chunking a canister of gasoline on top of a fire, and like just drops down below the window because he can't even process what's going on. Um, his problem is infinitely worse. Bulma thinks she hears something outside, looks out the window, but sees nothing, goes back to taking a shower. Oolong is blown away because now we're back to Oolong and Goku, and he's trying to comprehend the alleged power of the Dragon Balls. This is what he's here to help Bulma and Goku find. But now that he's figuring out what they potentially could do, this changes everything. However, Yamcha and Puar overhear this conversation underneath another window of the camper and they take off. Yamcha tells Puar that they've hit the jackpot. If they can get those hands on the Dragon Ball, Yamcha wants to use the Dragon Balls to get over his fear of women, and he wants to get married even. Or at least be able to go on a lousy date. Puar's like, well, don't you want to rule the world? Yamcha snaps at Puar's like, no, like, how long have you met me? How long do you know me? you know, that's not what I'm into. I want to be married. I want a wife. I want to settle down or at least be able to go on a date. Oolong says that he and Goku should cut Bulma out so that way, they're not dividing it 3 ways, they're dividing it just 2 ways, 50-50. Oolong says he wants to wish for 300 girls. Goku just doesn't understand why. He thinks it would be, one girl is trouble enough. Imagine having 300 problems now. Bulma asks for some pajamas from Oolong because she was just in the clothes that she had and wants to, she doesn't have the rest of her capsules. So she doesn't have the rest of her clothes. She needs to wash the clothes because they're dirty, ask for pajamas. But Oolong says he's not a putler, to which Bulma makes some snide remarks that Oolong looks like one or even a limo driver because of his outfit. Oolong offers Bulma and Goku a drink that will make Bulma relax and make Goku stronger, actually. It's just this nice little orange juice kind of thing. But as they're drinking it, Oolong reveals to an internal monologue that we get to be a part of that he spiked the drinks with sleeping powder and he plans to steal the Dragon Balls while they sleep. The camera cuts over to Mai and Shu, but there's one little teensy weensy problem. That bomb that they tried planting is actually glued to Shu's hand, and he's panicking because that bomb is going to go off in less than 1 minute. Thankfully, he's able to reset the bomb to go off at 8 a.m., so he's buying them a little more time, okay? This bomb is here. It's going to go off eventually. The problem is, can they find a way to get the bomb off of Shu's hand and onto the camper to take care of what they need to take care of? So now we cut back inside to Oolong, who begins to sneak upstairs to steal the Dragon Balls, and Puar peeks through the window immediately after Oolong goes upstairs. So like the second Oolong disappears out of the line of vision, Puar peeks, sees no Oolong, and tells Yamcha that the coast is clear. And now Puar transforms into a key and Yamcha uses Puar to unlock the door of the camper. Oolong is being a creep. He creeps on Bulma, but hears a noise. Yamcha finds Goku passed out, and he comes up with the idea to have Puar transform into Goku to see if, Puar as Goku can lure Oolong and Bulma out of the camper so that they can search the place, they can rob it, those kind of things. But Oolong notices fake Goku and freaks out. Now, here's the thing that's important to understand. Right now, Oolong's upstairs, Puar is downstairs. Puar is transformed into a Goku lookalike and begins walking up the stairs. But Oolong sees Puar before Puar sees Oolong. So as Oolong panics because he doesn't want to get in trouble, Oolong transforms into Bulma. So Puar as Goku and or Oolong as Bulma see each other, confront each other, trying to figure out what's going on. In Oolong's mind, he's like, hey, this kid should be passed out. Puar is like, okay, like he's buying it. Let's just make this happen. And so Puar, aka Goku, convinces Bulma to go outside. Now, as they exit, Yamcha sneaks upstairs to look for the Dragon Balls. Puar reveals that it was a disguise and that it's not really Goku, it's Puar. Which, as soon as this happened, Oolong does the same thing and reveals it's not really Bulma, but it's really Oolong. We cut back to the camper. Yamcha is upstairs, uncovers a sleeping, undressed Bulma, and just completely shuts down worse than before. He walks away just silently out of the camper, and Puar looks at him, and they just leave. It's just silence. Yamcha just leaves. Puar recognizes what's going on. It follows Yamcha, and they leave. Oolong stays up the rest of the night on watch with a gun. See, we're already seeing a change of heart in Oolong because, hey, they were already almost robbed once. Let's see what happens next. So he stays up all night with a gun. Goku and Bulma wake up feeling groggy because of that sleeping powder that Oolong gave them, but they don't know about that. And Bulma is furious that Oolong didn't wash her clothes when in reality, he was trying to rob him during the night, and then he ended up staying up all night long on watch protecting the camper. So no, he didn't wash the clothes. We cut back over to Mai and Shu trying to replant the bomb, and well, they plant it successfully and it will go off in 1 hour. That means it's 7 a.m. It will be 8 a.m. in 1 hour. So Bulma puts on a spare outfit that Oolong has. You know, she didn't get her PJs. She doesn't have her clothes washed and clean. Oolong says, well, there is one outfit you can borrow. Bulma goes and puts it on, and she's furious because it's a bunny outfit, kind of like a Playboy bunny outfit. She is furious, like those aren't real clothes, that's a costume. So Oolong drives the camper off, only for Yamcha and Puar to pull up in a car behind them, and he fires a bazooka at the camper. So like Yamcha's been, I don't want to say he's been playful, he's been nice because obviously he's fought them. Like he attacked Goku with the sword. Like Yamcha's not afraid to be vicious, but this is like a whole other level to where it's like, hey, we're going to skip, going from 1 to 10, and we're just going to go ahead and jump to 100 full force. And he fires a bazooka at the camper. The camper is hit and the camper crashes. There's an explosion, and Yamcha greets them with a Tommy gun. So, like, not only has he used a sword on them, he's now used a bazooka, and now he's got a machine gun waiting for them. Yamcha says that he'll shoot if they don't hand over the Dragon Balls. He reveals that he knows all about them because him and Puar overheard Oolong and Goku talking about them. Now, what happens next? I need you to listen, okay? Whatever you're doing right now, pause. If you're driving, pull over to the side of the road because I need you to listen very, very clearly to what happens next. Okay? Let's set the scene. The camper's just been hit with the bazooka. They're inside. It has crashed. There's an explosion. And Yamcha is waiting with a loaded machine gun, safety off, waiting for them to emerge from the bus to shoot them if they're not willing to hand over the Dragon Balls. Okay? The scene has been set. So I hope you're listening very, very closely and paying attention for what happens right here, right now in this episode. Goku charges Yamcha, and Yamcha doesn't shoot a kid. Okay? Yamcha's not like Bulma. Bulma shoots Goku with a pistol, Bulma shoots Goku with a machine gun, like shoots a kid twice. No questions asked. Didn't even think about it for a second. Didn't even weigh the options. Immediately was like, oh, like I'm going to shoot this kid. That's it. That is her internal instinct. Like that, when it comes to fight or flight, Bulma is like, oh, yeah, like I'll shoot a kid. No problem. Yamcha does not shoot a kid. Okay. No kid is shot. But, however, Yamcha goes for the Wolf Fang Fist, which sent Goku through a couple of pillars of stone earlier. He goes for the Wolf Fang Fist, but this time Goku blocks every shot and knocks Yamcha down. This already goes to show you how quickly Goku's mind adapts to combat and specific techniques, and Yamcha's face begins to swell and he takes off running. He tells Par that they're going to continue to follow them and they're just going to wait and steal the Dragon Balls once they collect all 7. Cut over to Mai and Shu as they approach the wreckage of the camper. By this time, Goku, Bulma, and Oolong have left once again on foot. And they're surprised that the bomb went off early because it's not 8 o'clock yet. So they get inside the camper and they're starting to look through the wreckage for the Dragon Ball, presuming that our heroes are dead. Yamcha finds the gang walking and approaches them. He apologizes for his behavior and his actions, and he gives them a capsule car as an apology, and he takes off running. We see just a few seconds later, it's because that car has a tracking device on it, and Yamcha is testing it. He hears an explosion while he's testing it, and the camera cuts over to reveal that the bomb that was attached to the camper didn't go off when the rocket launcher, when the bazooka hit it. But now that the clock has struck 8 a.m., the bomb goes off while Mai and Shu are inside the camper. That is it for season 1, episode 6. We're going to take a little break and then we'll be back with season 1, episode 7, The Ox King on Fire Mountain.
I'm making you both my students from this day forward.
Yeah! Here goes!
Hold on, here's Goku. I can't let you hurt me both. It's real.
My turn. Awesome!
Now, wait a second.
Ha!
I just love fighting.
And we are back, and it's time to talk about our third episode today. Season 1, Episode 7, The Ox King on Fire Mountain. Now, we do have 2 super important character debuts in this episode, okay? Our first one is Chi-Chi, who will play such an important role in Goku's life, as well as the Ox King. If you know who the Ox King is and you know who Chi-Chi are from Dragon Ball Z, but you don't know about their role and their importance in Dragon Ball, well, now's your chance to learn. So this episode starts with Goku, Oolong, and Bulma in the car that Yamcha gave them. They are driving and they are headed towards Fire Mountain for the 6th Dragon Ball. They're finally no longer traveling on foot. They're entering into Ox King territory, however, and Bulma explains that it's getting hotter and hotter, therefore they must be getting closer. Goku notices the sunset and Bulma looks up, acknowledges the sunset, and says how pretty it is when Oolong points out that it's not a sunset, it's Fire Mountain. Yamcha is seen following the trio in a car with Par. Now, remember, Yamcha put a tracking device in this car that he just happened to give them, out of the kindness of his heart. he didn't give it to him out of the kindness of his heart because there's a tracking device in it. So he's following them. Poir's in the car with him. Now, Mai and Shu finally make their way back to Pilaf's palace, okay? They are in defeat. They have miraculously survived a bomb exploding in wreckage. You know, it's one thing if the bomb goes off in a structure that is undamaged, but for a bomb to go off in damaged structure, you know, I'm no scientist, I'm no engineer. I would imagine the risk factors are significantly higher and more dangerous because of, the structural integrity is not what it was before it was damaged. So they return back to Pilaf's palace, and Pilaf is having a feast, and he tells the gang to eat because it's the spy business. Some failures are expected to happen. He was with them whenever they left Roshi's island and they sank. So he gets it. It's the spy business. It's a dangerous, high risk line of work. So not everything's going to go just how you plan it, right? So they get excited. They step forward to go to the table to sit down and join the feast. But Pilaf quickly switches gears and he says he does not reward failure. He uses his fork and he hits a switch that opens a secret door filled with robotic arms. We've seen this used on Shu previously. These trapdoors fling open both on the ceiling and on the floor, and these robotic arms come out and they grab Mai and Shu and they hold him in place. A set of robotic arms places these metal bowls slash helmets on top of their heads, and the palace roof begins to open up, and lightning begins to strike them. Like, he could just have a way to where there are electrical currents flowing through these robotic arms to shock them that way, but he's like, no, let's let nature help out. We're elevated high enough. Let's open up the ceiling and let lightning strike this way while they're being held by highly conductive metal robotic arms. Pilaf is enjoying watching them be electrocuted until his metal fork, which is highly conductive, just happens to attract some of the lightning and he is electrocuted as well. Well, we cut back over to the gang standing outside of their car and they are staring at Fire Mountain. They can finally see it. Bulma wants to push ahead, but Oolong reminds her that the terrible Ox King is there. And he explains that there's not a chance that they'll make it because of the Ox King and his great and terrible power. There's no one that can challenge him. Oolong explains that the Ox King hired a witch to protect his castle from thieves by putting this fire around it, but the fire has raged far out of control, and now the Ox King is stuck in the village because he can't even return to his castle because of this. Goku says Grandpa Gohan taught him to be fearless, so he's not afraid of the Ox King. What sound sage advice from Goku, and just seeing the impact of Grandpa Gohan in his life, and just the way that that's surfacing now, but it's just glimpses. Like, we are just now starting to scratch the surface of who Goku is and how crucial and how instrumental what Grandpa Gohan taught him, and how that plays into the rest of his life. Now, at this point, Yamcha and Puar recognize that Goku and Bulma and Oolong have stopped their car. And instead of attacking, they decide, let's go ahead and continue to follow them and see how things play out. Yamcha is distracted by screams, however. He turns his head to see a little girl screaming and running. She's screaming because she's being chased by a gigantic purple T Rex. Okay. Another dinosaur sighting here in Dragon Ball. I believe this is our third one. And this little girl turns around, and on her helmet there's this attachment up there, and she grabs it with both hands and flings it forward. And that attachment, it is a blade that absolutely decapitates the T-Rex. Like, just one clean swift cut, the head is cut smooth off, and she freaks out and presses a button that's also on the helmet and fires a laser, and it completely eviscerates the dinosaur. Like, there's nothing left of it. Yamcha goes to compliment her on her power, but she fires the laser at him and says that she was taught not to talk strangers. Luckily, Yamcha dodges this, but he knocks her out. So it's kind of weird. Yamcha's first instinct is to like hit a kid, but also I'm sure this is just a reflex of like, oh whoa, I just saw her eviscerate. Like there's no more evidence that that dinosaur was there because of a laser she shot. She just shot that at me. I got to think quick. I got to do something to stop her from doing that to me. So, not saying it's right to hit kids, but you got to do what you got to do when they're firing lasers at you. So, Bulma, Goku, and Oolong are walking through the ruins of this village. You can see the heat waves moving around. Oolong urges them to keep it down, though, because the Ox King will hear them. Goku calls Nimbus at full volume, jumps on Nimbus, and flies to the top of Fire Mountain. Oolong is like, great. I'm sure there's no possible way he heard that, right? No, Oolong's freaking out because Goku yelled for Nimbus and he guarantees that the Ox King heard that. Goku flies to the top of Fire Mountain to try and get to the castle and look for the Dragon Ball, but the flames are too vicious, the flames are too high, and he catches his tail on fire. And so he rides Nimbus quickly back down the mountain over to a lake and jumps off into the water. And we see that his tail is burned and he's doing everything in his power to quickly put it out. The Ox King shows up right behind Bulma and he throws his axe and just narrowly misses her head. Bulma and Oolong are absolutely terrified. Oolong wets himself even. The Ox King asks if they're there to steal his treasures, and Bulma and Oolong say no, but the Ox King asks them if they're lying. Goku is nursing his tail until he hears their screams and he uses his power ball to extend and to launch him back to where they are in the village. Goku immediately tells them that it's going to be a lot harder to get into the castle. Ox King hears this and now he knows that they were trying to break into his castle. He caught Bulma and Oolong lying right there and he starts swinging his axe at Goku. Goku throws a punch and it does nothing. He calls upon Nimbus and makes the Ox King dizzy by riding Nimbus around the Ox King in circles. And Goku finally asks him, "Hey, are you the Ox King?" And then he immediately compliments the Ox King's strength and talks about how powerful he is. And the Ox King says he recognizes Nimbus and asks who Goku stole that from because he thinks they're thieves. Goku says he got it from an old hermit. Ox King points out that the old hermit's name is Roshi and he was actually the Ox King's master. The Ox King asks if they know where he is and how to find him, to which Bulma says they could probably find him based off of the beach where they were at earlier, where they met him and they took Turtle to. The Ox King gets so excited and says he'll finally be able to go back to his castle. Yamcha is seen sneaking around trying to scope out this situation. The Ox King asks Goku where he got that toothpick that's on his back, referring to the power pole, and Goku explains that it's the power pole from his grandpa. It was given to him. Ox King asks what was his name? Was his name Gohan? As Goku says yes, the Ox King gets excited and says what a fine man Gohan was. And he reveals to Goku that he was best friends with Gohan and that Gohan was actually Roshi, the turtle hermit. He was Roshi's first ever student. The Ox King says, "You must be Gohan's boy." Goku says yes and states his name, that it's Goku, to which the Ox King says, "What a fine name Goku is." Oolong and Bulma now understand why Goku is so strong. If Grandpa Gohan trained with the Ox King, then that makes a lot of sense that when Grandpa Gohan trained Goku, that Goku is above and beyond anyone that they're coming in contact with otherwise. So, now that Bulma and Oolong understand why Goku's strong, the Ox King asks Goku if he can go back to Roshi and get something called the Bansho fan. It is a strong enough fan made out of special material that it can fan the flames out that are surrounding Fire Mountain. Goku asks if he can have the Dragon Ball that's up there if he gets the fan. Ox King remembers what the Dragon Ball looks like and says that he believes he's seen one up there, and he easily agrees. Before leaving, however, the Ox King says that his daughter, named Chi Chi, was sent out to find the Bancho fan the day before, but might be in trouble. And so the Ox King asks Goku to find her and says, like, hey, if you find her and bring her back, you can marry her. And Goku's just like, okay, like, yeah, I'll help you. Yamcha and Puar panic and take off. Yamcha goes back to find Chi Chi because remember, this girl that he ran into that cut off the dinosaur's head and then evaporated the dinosaur and then tried to evaporate Yamcha. Yamcha just connected the dots that, hey, that's probably her. Well, him and Puar arrive back to where she is and find out that she is still unconscious from what Yamcha did. Yamcha wakes her up. Chi Chi is confused, trying to figure out what's going on. Yamcha, he's like, oh, well, this is a little girl. Girls are influenced by handsome men. So he tries putting the charm on to Chi Chi, but he sees Goku flying overhead and just takes off running because he doesn't want Goku to know that he's around. Yamcha is now hiding, but Goku is on Nimbus. He spots Chi Chi, goes down to where she is. Chi Chi is shocked by Goku, but Goku informs that Chi Chi and says, hey, I was sent here by your dad to help you. Chi Chi climbs on Nimbus, but as she does, she pulls on Goku's tail, and this causes Goku a ton of pain. This is why moments earlier, when he caught his tail on fire by being up by the Ox King's castle, that he wasn't just sprinting down to put out the fire for the sake of like being on fire, but now that it's revealed that his tail is sensitive, there's no telling how much worse it hurt while it was on fire. Keep this little nugget stored in your brain because this is going to come back a lot. So she's on Nimbus and the two of them take off. Yamcha is happy to know a weakness now of Goku. He tells Par that Goku will have to come back for the sixth Dragon Ball at some point, and when he does, Yamcha will take advantage of this newfound weakness of Goku's. Goku and Chi Chi take off to find Roshi, but Goku is lost. They stop above the ocean and they ask a dolphin, because, that's what I would do if I was in the ocean, ask a dolphin for help. The dolphin does know Roshi and gives them direction. Okay, this is huge because this confirms that super cool alligator that we saw in episode 4. Okay? This super cool alligator, the one that was tanning and just kind of vibing outside of Roshi's house, this confirms it is now canon in Dragon Ball that this alligator does know Roshi. Remember, I posted a question like, hey, does this alligator know Roshi? Or has he just watched him? And now that he sees Roshi's gone, he's going to be brave enough to move on to the island and try some human things. Well, it is now confirmed. It is part of Dragon Ball lore that alligator does know Roshi because the dolphin knows Roshi. So therefore, everyone that is in this body of water near Roshi has to know him. It only makes sense. Well, Chi Chi and Goku arrive at the Kami house, and Roshi and Turtle are outside. They're excited to see them. And Roshi even explains that he had a feeling he'd see Goku again. Well, that does it for season 1, episode 7, The Ox King on Fire Mountain. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you for the feedback you've been giving me. Always feel free to share your feedback with me. All right, I've got a couple of plugs and then we'll be done, okay? Obviously, listen to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm doing my best to make it as available on as many platforms as possible for the sake of more people getting to hear about this, for the hope that more people will be fans of Dragon Ball. So listen to it wherever you find podcasts, but also check out our YouTube channel, Through the Years Pod. We have video versions of the podcast that will be up that have some visuals to go along with this episode. If you haven't seen Dragon Ball, I would encourage you to listen to it, but then also to go back and watch the video version as well, just for the sake of getting some of those visuals in your mind so you can connect faces with names. And then also check out Through the Years Pod on Instagram. That's where I'm announcing when episodes drop, some special things. I threw up a picture of a little bit of my collection yesterday. So take a look at that if you're interested at all. Instagram, YouTube, wherever you find podcasts, those are the best ways to communicate with me and to, stay up to date on, episodes when they drop. But also if we have a weird issue like last week where it's like, hey, we're not going to have a pod this week, here's why, then you're aware of that as well. And lastly, I just ask you, if it's not too much trouble, recommend this podcast to a friend. Word of mouth is the most powerful, sure way of advertising and of, you know, growing things. And I've said it before, I don't care about, financial success when it comes to this podcast. It's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it just because I love it. I love Dragon Ball and I want others to experience the same joy that I do from Dragon Ball. So I would encourage you, if you have any friends that are into martial arts, that are into um, you know, anime, if they're into manga, if they're into, kung fu movies, or if they're into, just adventure stuff, or if they're into TV in general or storytelling in general, you know, send them a YouTube link, send them a Spotify link or an Apple Podcast link or a Stitcher or Google Podcast, whatever you use to listen to podcasts. You just send them a link, and share the show with them, because that's the easiest way and that's the best way for us to grow. Like I said, for even just one person to listen means the world to me. That you would take time out of your week to try something like this. So I don't take that for granted at all. I do this completely as a labor of love, and I really hope that whether you're listening to this episode for the first time or you're listening to all of them, that you will leave a fan of Dragon Ball for life. This has been Through the Years with a Z, a Dragon Ball podcast. I'll see you guys next time on Through the Years.